What if the quiet streets of Sargodha hide something far darker than anyone imagines? When Arbab Noor steps into an abandoned Haveli, he thinks he will find only dust and silence. But what he uncovers is something that will haunt him forever. Stay with me till the end, because the secret buried inside those walls will leave you speechless. The air in Sargodha carried a strange heaviness that evening. The streets were quieter than usual, as if the city itself was holding its breath. Arbab Noor walked slowly, his eyes darting across the shadows that stretched along the old brick walls. The scent of damp earth mixed with the faint aroma of smoke drifting from distant tea stalls. He pulled the shawl tighter around his shoulders, though the chill he felt came not from the cold, but from the unease in his chest. Every step echoed against the narrow lane, louder than it should have been, louder than he wanted it to be. A dog barked in the distance. Then another answered, their cries carrying through the still night. The lamps above flickered weakly, casting broken halos of light that barely touched the ground. Arbab's breath grew heavier, his heart beat faster, as he reached the old courtyard near the abandoned Haveli. The walls were stained with time, their plaster cracked like veins spreading across pale skin. He paused, staring at the heavy wooden door, its iron nails rusted, its surface scarred by deep scratches. The air turned colder, and for the first time he noticed the faint sound of whispering, soft but insistent, like voices carried through the wind. His skin prickled, and his hands trembled slightly as he pushed the door open. The hinges groaned, releasing a sound that seemed to echo deep into the darkness inside. A sharp smell of mildew and rot struck him immediately, clawing at his throat and making his eyes sting. He stepped in, his shoes sinking into the dust-coated floor, the sound muffled, as if the earth itself was swallowing it. The whispering grew louder now, no longer distant, but close to close, circling him like unseen figures. His eyes strained to adjust, shapes shifting in the dim light, shadows moving where nothing should move. The air felt heavier, pressing down on him, making each breath shallow and forced. And then, just ahead, something glimmered faintly in the darkness, drawing his gaze like a magnet. He could not resist. It was a shard of glass, lying in the dust, reflecting a light that had no source. Arbab Noor bent closer, his pulse hammering against his temples. As he reached for it, the ground beneath him seemed to tremble, subtle at first, then stronger, like something alive shifting under the floor. The glass slipped from his fingers and fell back with a faint clink, but the sound carried unnaturally long, echoing deeper and deeper as if falling into a bottomless pit. He froze, his eyes wide, listening. The whispering had stopped. Silence pressed against his ears, so complete it felt unnatural, almost violent. And then, without warning, a breath brushed against the back of his neck, warm and deliberate. Every muscle in his body tightened, his throat dry, his feet rooted to the ground. Slowly, painfully, he turned his head. There was nothing, only the shadows stretching, twisting across the cracked walls as though they were alive, bending toward him. The air grew suffocating, thick with a smell of burning oil and iron. His vision blurred for a moment, and when it cleared, he saw something carved into the far wall. A symbol. A circle with jagged lines running through it, drawn not with paint or chalk, but with something darker. Something that looked wet and glistening. The moment his eyes locked on it, the whispering returned, louder than before. A chorus of voices speaking words he could not understand. The walls seemed to vibrate, and his knees nearly gave way under the weight of the sound. Arbab clutched his chest, struggling to steady his breath, as the symbol began to glow faintly, pulsing like a heartbeat. The glow spread slowly, illuminating the entire wall with a sickly crimson hue. Arbab Noor felt his skin tighten as the light crawled across the room, coating everything in its unholy shimmer. The dust that had once lain still now swirled violently, spinning into small vortices that scratched against his cheeks. He tried to step back, but his legs refused to move, as if an invisible weight held him in place. His ears rang with the whispers, now sharper, almost screaming, tearing through his skull. The symbol throbbed faster, each pulse sending a jolt through his chest like a drum pounding directly into his heart. From the cracks in the wall, something thick began to seep out. It oozed slowly at first, dark and tar-like, before spilling onto the floor in streams that slithered like living things. The smell was unbearable burnt flesh mixed with rusted metal. Arbab gagged, his stomach twisting, but he could not look away. The black substance spread toward him, creeping closer with each heartbeat. And then, in the center of the glowing symbol, a shape began to emerge. A hand. Thin, elongated fingers clawed through the surface of the wall, as if it were soft clay. The wall itself seemed to groan in agony as the hand pushed further, followed by the outline of an arm. Arbab's chest tightened with a terror so raw it made his vision swim. But still, he stood frozen, trapped in the grip of something he could neither see nor resist. The voices reached a fevered pitch, chanting, demanding, summoning, and with a final crack, the figure began to pull itself through. The figure dragged itself out of the wall, its body twisting unnaturally, as if made from the very shadows that clung to the room. Its face was featureless, a blank void that reflected no light, yet Arbab Noor felt its gaze pierce straight through him. The black substance receded back into the cracks, vanishing as quickly as it had come, leaving only the pulsing symbol behind. The whispers faded too, replaced by a silence so absolute it rang in his ears. The figure did not move closer. It only raised its elongated hand and pressed it against the center of Arbab's chest. A coldness spread instantly, colder than any winter he had ever known, freezing his breath and slowing his heartbeat until it felt like the world itself had stopped. And then, just as suddenly, the hand withdrew. The figure stepped back, dissolving into the wall, until only the faint outline of the symbol remained. The crimson glow dimmed, fading to nothing, and the room was plunged into darkness once more. Arbab staggered backward, finally able to move, his body trembling violently. He stumbled out of the Haveli, into the pale light of the night sky, gasping for air, as if he had been drowning. Behind him, the door creaked shut on its own, sealing whatever he had witnessed inside. He stood there, staring at the silent building, knowing he could never speak of what had happened, for the people of Sargodha would never believe him. And deep inside, he feared that the thing he had seen was not trapped within those walls but had already left its mark on him.